Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone to our July 9th, 2014 City of Brentwood Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. Could you all join me with the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Ms. Bilderbeck, can you lead us in a roll call, please?
I'd
I'll do
love
it.
to, but I don't have the list.
Okay, Mr. Dennett?
Clint Lewis.
Here.
David Plufka.
Here.
David Dimmitt here. Daniel Glowski.
I'm sorry. Dan Glowski is present.
Michael Daming.
Here.
Sherry Bilderback.
Here.
Terry Knowles.
Here.
Jeff Moore. Here. Rich Obertino.
Here.
I believe we have a quorum.
Okay, Mr. Lewis is here as well.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Demmett.
Yeah.
Has everybody had an opportunity to review the June 11th, 2014 meeting minutes? Are there any revisions to said minutes? If not, they'll stand as approved. First item of old business is a petition for approval of an amendment to our sign code. You'll all recall that we've gone through two lengthy site plan meetings, subcommittee meetings, in which we've reviewed the sign code thoroughly, have revised the sign code thoroughly to be consistent with Missouri law. At this point, we're waiting, staff is going to now compile all of our revisions into a master list of a master revised sign code. And I'd suggest staff is the recommendation that we take one additional site plan subcommittee meeting to review these.
I think that would be the appropriate way to go.
Okay.
And so that way you guys can make sure that everything that you've recommended is included before having kind of the final bring back to the full commission.
So is there any objection with referring this matter over to site plan subcommittee for one more meeting? No. Okay. It'll stand
Mr. Chairman,
as-
is there a time constraint we're under because of so many days for action and things like that?
No, we're still fine. We're good.
Okay.
I believe that requirement only applies to site plan
Applications.
applications.
And so, I guess my question is, this would be the last Wednesday of July?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do we know what attendance is going to be like? I would like to go, and I can't go that night. I don't want to presume that I'm.
I think the idea moving from here, we don't have the final, we have the version of, that came from the first site plan subcommittee meeting in which we went through half the code.
Right.
Now, staff is going to, we made some additional changes to that first half. Staff's going to take the second half of the code that we revised, put it all together, hopefully get it to us well in advance of the site plan meeting. So to the extent you're unable to make it, if you could just register your concerns by email, and we'll make sure those are addressed at the meeting. Any objection to tabling this to subcommittee? Okay, it'll be tabled then. First item of new business is a petition for site plan and conditional use permit approval to locate a sales of lawn and landscaping equipment and drop-off point for repair and service of lawn and landscaping equipment, including outdoor display, business at 8513 Manchester Road. Is the petitioner present? Mr. King, can you please step forward and introduce yourself if you're going to be making the presentation?
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, for your records, my name is John King. I'm an attorney. I'm here this evening representing Phil Russo, who is the owner and operator of the lawn care equipment company that's located over in Manchester. His address over there is 8605, and he is the owner of the lawn care equipment company at that location. He has recently purchased a building just a couple doors to the east, which is at 8513 Brentwood, with the idea that he would like to open a lawn care equipment company mainly to sell commercial lawn care and landscape equipment at that location. And on the site plan that is before you, Phil is here this evening. As you can see, most of you know him. He's seated right behind me. He is here to answer any questions that you may have regarding this petition. as I said, he wants to sell commercial mowers and landscape equipment for commercial enterprises at this location. He would also, at this location, want to display the commercial equipment that he would have, and he would put that out front. There are 2 parking places there now, and that's where he would display that equipment. If you look at this site plan, this is places that are parking places today, and they were for the auto parts store. He would display some of his equipment right out here. Now, that would only be displayed during the hours that he is open. He would not leave that out overnight, and he would bring it in every night into the showroom in this area here. There'll be offices in here for 2 or 3 employees, which will be located at this side of the, excuse me, at this side of the building. The other thing he would like to do is to have people who want to get their equipment repaired come in and loop around and then drop their equipment off right here where we have a equipment drop-off area. They would bring it in and into the store and then take it over to the other place, which is just to the west, take it to his store. He would repair it at that location and then picked up back at this location here. The main reason he wants to do that is because a lot of people at the other store have to back out into Manchester Road. And in this location, he can bring them in, bring them around through the turn and out onto Manchester Road, headed to the south rather than backing out to the south at that location. The conditional use permit which we're seeking gives him the right to sell the equipment and also display it out in front of the building. He is displaying equipment in front of his other building, but it's not allowed, and the city's been kind enough to let us proceed with this zoning, and then he will not be displaying any equipment out at the other building after we have this zoning. As I said, it'll be taken in every night. The building itself is about 4,200 square feet, and the lot itself is about a half acre in size. There are 12 parking places, 11 are required. The landscaping that we would have would be around the front of the building. There's a small box for landscaping. It's not a lot of landscaping, but it'll do something to make it look better at that location. The hours of operation at this location will be from 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. and on Saturday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. and he's closed the rest on Sunday. The other store is open on Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and from 9 to 1 on Saturday. So there'll be a few more hours at this location. He will have a total of at least 1 to 2 new employees that'll be hired to work at the commercial equipment sales office. And so this will be his 3rd location. He has a location in DeSoto, Missouri, and one here in Brentwood on Manchester Road. Phil's here if you have any questions for him to answer, and I'll answer any ones that I can.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. King. A few questions. First, just with use. The current location at 8605, it's my understanding that at that location, the current use is both repair and sales?
Yes. But that's small equipment, for my yard, your yard.
For both equipment and sales?
Yes.
Okay. And so then what would be the anticipated use for the 8605 should this application be approved?
Just for the sale of commercial equipment, commercial lawn equipment, and it would be a drop-off and pickup for repairs.
8605 or 8513?
The old,
8605 will, I'm sorry, I get these confused. The 8605 would be steel repairs and the sale of small lawnmowers and landscape equipment.
so 8605 will, in the future, should this application be approved, repair of both commercial and
Yes.
consumer machines and the sales of small machines.
Yes, correct.
And then what is the anticipated use of 8513, the new
That
location?
would be sales of the commercial equipment and a drop-off and pickup point for equipment to be repaired.
Probably drop off of
That's
the
correct.
commercial type
Yeah.
machines.
Well, and the other small ones too.
Okay, and then you've got this Wild Nails and a smoke shop in between, correct?
Yes, we do.
Have you conferred with them at all as to their position on this
I
expansion?
have not. Phil said he has not.
So the biggest issue that I have is this turnaround, but even more than the turnaround is something that you alluded to, and I'd like to get a better direction from you, is this road going from 8513 to Ruth.
We have no intention of using that at this present time. Phil is on a budget, and he would have to asphalt that area so that it was capable of having the trucks or cars go through and then come out en route. But at the present time, he's just going to have the turnaround for that purpose to let them go back out. I'm sure that once we have that, to go through the back, and we would, people would still use the turnaround. The other thing I didn't point out was that we do have a fence going along our north property line adjacent to the residentially zoned property.
Because you have this road referenced on item 6 of the site plan, and you do indicate that it is rock.
It's all it is right now.
It's existing right now.
Well, I went over it today, but it's not, I'm not sure that anybody else would use it. They might be concerned about their cars, but it works fine. It worked fine today. It was
Well,
fine over it.
I think the concern would be these, well, any sort of vehicle, frankly, coming onto that residential road, Ruth.
I understand that. And if the commission doesn't want us to do that, we are prepared to block that off, and nobody can use it.
And then what is the surface material of the turnaround?
It's just ground right now, but we intend to follow the ordinances of the city and cover that ground, or provide the type of surface that the city demands in their ordinances.
And do we have an idea? I saw staff's report was unable to determine what the site coverage was on this new
No,
site.
we did not get that, and I just got that today, the staff report. I will have that back to the commission. It's a half acre, so it'd be about 20, to me, it's going to be around 20 to 30%. The building itself is 4,200 square feet. Half acre is 23 or 22 square thousand, so it'd be about 20%.
We'll be able to get this information before the subcommittee.
Yes, I'll have the exact number.
And then what were the intentions as far as landscaping is concerned?
Well, there's not much room to do landscaping at this location. We'll do what we can, and it'll have to be, we'd like for it to be low landscaping so that the equipment can be displayed. But we would like to have some equipment on display outside the building, and then landscape what we can.
Okay, Mr. Wise, staff report?
Thank you. As was discussed, the subject site is 0.4 acres in size and is zoned general commercial district. Under the city's zoning regulations, as the subject site is less than half an acre, the proposed use does require a conditional use permit. In addition to the use requiring the conditional use permit, the general commercial district does require that any outdoor display or storage of materials does require specific authorization in the conditional use permit to permit that activity. The staff report, as some of the discussion has alluded, it does bring up several of the deficiencies or clarifications that are necessary on the site plan. Some of the principal ones that have been discussed are how the clarification for the proposed circulation for the site, the utilization of the turnaround, which Mr. King has clarified, as well as the use of the adjacent parcel that they've indicated that they would be prepared to block off if the commission so desired. Clarification as to the additional parking area. On the north side of the building, they do show 2 additional parking spaces that presumably offset the 2 spaces on the front that they're taking off. So those, in conjunction with the turnaround, would need to be clarified and taken into consideration when they do the lot coverage calculation to ensure that they're compliant with the general commercial district regulations. Aside from that, we would also look for some sort of clarification for the provision of trash service on the site. And then on the conditional use itself, the report notes, as well as Mr. King and the chair have discussed, that fully understanding how the use operates both in conjunction with the existing site as well as how it will potentially impact or not impact the adjacent uses, the public street in between the uses and the adjacent parcel to the west. And with those concerns or with those items still open, staff has recommended that the request be to the Site Plan Review Committee to ensure that all of these items are fully addressed to the Commission's so that the commission is fully satisfied with those answers.
And I think that's a good recommendation. And Mr. Russo, you're a strong corporate citizen, and we certainly we value this new application into a vacant lot. And I'm hearing cooperation from your council and yourself here tonight. The road was the most significant concern I have in light of the entrance onto a residential area. I think that if we can get some more cooperation from you on the turnaround, I like that it's going to be paved. Once we get some clarification on site coverage and some cooperation on landscaping, I think this will be a good application. But I do think it's worthy of a site plan subcommittee meeting. With that, we'll open it up to questions from commission members. Mr. Demmett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Russo, this is a piece of property that you or someone recently acquired?
Yes, sir.
Do you know how long that property had been vacant?
I would say approximately 1 year.
Okay. And that was the auto part?
C&E Auto Parts, yes, sir.
If you could explain to me or give me, and I also would like to applaud you for trying to do something with those properties down in Manchester.
We're trying.
And I think it's wonderful that you're doing that. The relationship between 8605 and 8513, those 2 pieces of property. So I understand it from your attorney, the goal is, among other things, to have customers drop off pieces of equipment that will ultimately be repaired at 8605.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And how do you plan on getting the equipment then from 8513 to 8605?
What we have, our plans will be is actually have a small trailer, so where we have enough to fill the trailer, just bring it over to the other store. Our main concern, especially if you guys ever came by the store, is we're, kind of in the springtime. It is very monotonous for the residential people and for, just people driving down the road, from people dropping off equipment. They're, like John was trying to state, that they're trying to back into Manchester Road. As you know, we don't have that much ingress egress coming, off the property onto Manchester Road. We've had to call for a few accidents, to say the least. So we're trying to minimize that problem. As far as the actual working on the equipment, nothing will be done at 8513. It is just physically a way of minimizing the problem that we have with people dropping off in the middle of Ruth Avenue. We have residents right now that are very cooperative with us, but they sometimes have to sit and wait because there's a truck and trailer in their way. They can't get their ingress egress to go northbound onto Ruth Avenue. So this was our only feasible way to try to eliminate this whole issue. As far as having it shut off, I truly would have to have a way or a means to be able to get a small trailer to be able to get the product over to the other store. Here again, I don't want to go onto Manchester Road because then we create another issue. So we would like to be able to have our own so-called ingress, egress for our own personal use behind the property. As far as the cigarette shop and the nail salon place, they're not accessible to anything northern of their building. So everything for them is strictly on, the Manchester Road side. So their parking is that. So we're not going to be a hindrance in that sense. We would definitely be a hindrance, though, if we would be requested to take product on the front portion, let's call it the southern end closest to Manchester Road, then yes, we would be in a conflict with them because we would be going across their parking lot, and that would definitely be a detriment to them.
Okay.
So our means of transportation, let's call it, from the one drop-off point, 8513, to get it to the actual building where the product is being repaired, my thought was to have the product be loaded on a trailer, and then we have a small little tractor that we can pull, behind the cigarette shop and whatnot, and then take it, inside the building to get worked on.
But you don't end up having the same issue that you're trying to eliminate right now with this trailer, as I understand it. One of the things that you're trying to eliminate is people dropping off, going on, is it Mary?
Ruth Avenue,
I'm sorry,
yeah.
it's just east of the 8605 property.
Correct, yes, sir.
You're trying to eliminate people from going on Ruth and dropping off.
Correct, yes, sir.
And is it your position that what you were proposing, what you were proposing would eliminate that?
Correct, yes, sir.
And how does that work? Because you still have a trailer that's pulling these pieces of equipment.
Well, if you could visualize this, it's a single axle trailer, just in a sense of it's like an 8x12 trailer. So once we would have enough, let's say, lawnmowers to have a trailer load, we would just pull that over to the 8605 Manchester property, take it inside our covered area, drop that product off, and then come back. So that little tractor that we would use and a little trailer that we're pulling, nothing would be like left on Ruth or anything. It's just a matter of our means of getting the product back and forth.
Okay.
So the other thing we could do is using the tractor and the trailer to take the equipment over is just somehow block off Ruth other than for his traffic, because we don't want, Phil doesn't want a lot of cars coming up and making a left turn and coming out on Ruth, because that would be commercial traffic on that residential street, which is what he wants to avoid. The only commercial traffic we would have on there would be his tractor and little trailer.
Well,
and we could block it off.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because that was actually one of the questions I had was if you'd considered at all having either the ingress or the egress off of Manchester at 8513, and then having the customers exit out onto Ruth, and then use Ruth to get back onto Manchester.
That would be an ultimate resolution. If that would be feasible and be approved by the committee, that would be ideal.
Well, I was just looking at this plan, and one of the one of the concerns that I have is that you have people trying to get in and out off of Manchester on 8513 with, by your own admission, trucks and pulling trailers. And I'm having a hard time visualizing that, but that's a little bit of a concern that I have, is that they might get backed up, there might be a queue, and it might be easier for them if they either come in off of Ruth or if they exit.
If the committee would allow that, that would be ideal.
Okay.
It really, truly would, because you are correct. For any particular person to be pulling a trailer, to make a turn with it, it's a challenge. And then, like you say, if there's someone that's parked right where that little turnaround area is, that might be a detriment. We, like John had stated, we want to be in compliant. We want to make sure this is an incentive, not a detriment. We're truly want to, we see the problem, we definitely realize the problem, we're just trying to resolve this problem.
You're preaching to the choir. I understand. Note number 8 on your plans, the siltation fence. Can you tell me what a siltation fence is?
That's a fence that's used in the construction. I'm sure that's language is on every plan that ever has been before this committee or this commission. That's a fence you put up to keep the mud from going on other people's yards if you're digging and grading, et cetera.
Well, my bad, because if it has been, I haven't read that. And I caught it today, and I thought, if siltation fence to me is like you said. Right, and
It's a fence.
it says it's going to be installed along the south and east property line. To me, property line is right on Manchester, and so I need a little clarification on
It's
that.
only done during construction.
Okay, so you're not planning on using a siltation fence?
Oh, no.
No, that'll be
Okay,
taken down.
all right.
Truly, what we would like to do, and I apologize, I didn't get a chance to see if it's on that plan, but I would like to have a nice white vinyl fencing on the northern portion of this property, but, so like say a fencing buffer between us and the first resident that would be behind us. Now, I have confronted the neighbor to the north of us on Ruth Avenue, and they are very receptive to that. They feel that would really enhance them also. And as far as the size and whatnot, here again, we'll be in compliant with the board and the regulations, but I would feel that like a 6-foot vinyl fencing, if that would be something that would be feasible, we would like to do.
Okay, I noticed also there were a couple of 35-gallon drums on the back of the property. Do you know what's in those properties?
That was left by the previous owners. I mean, here again, I've just been, I was going to paint the building and start, doing some, at this point, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just really
I'm
cautious of doing anything. I mean, here's my thing, that will be gone. So,
I want to make sure that isn't something that your business generates on a
oh,
regular
no,
business.
sir, that was something that they had left. It might be just water, I don't know, but yeah, all that will be coming off. So, yeah, we would not want any kind of barrels of any nature, on the properties whatsoever.
My only question would be in terms of for the subcommittee, if there'd be any chance at having you put together a plan that would show the 8605 in relation to the 8513 pieces of property, since as I'm sitting here listening to you tonight and your attorney, and you're doing a great job of explaining this to me, and it seems to me this isn't necessarily just one applicant. This is an applicant that is tied to another existing piece of property.
Correct.
And for me personally, it would be helpful if I could look at that and see those two pieces of property on a piece of paper in terms of the distance.
Sure.
Because I just have the Russo's property to the west, and so I just wonder if it'd be possible to put that together. So
We Justin knows what we've been through to get these plans.
Okay.
I just got this today or yesterday, and that's why Phil hadn't seen it. But if we can do that, we'll do that.
That would be wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you for your patience and putting up with my questions tonight.
Yeah.
Thanks for your time.
Good point, Mr. Demmett. Ms. Bilderback?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's going to help a whole lot. That's going to help a whole lot because I was listening and I was trying to follow what Mr. King was pointing out on the screen, with the plan. And And there's a lot of pieces and roads and pathways and gravel and paved and all this kind of stuff. So that's going to really help me visualize it a lot better. I see the site every single day because I live in Brentwood and I work in Brentwood too. A couple of questions, and I presume that, and you may not be aware of it, but that it calls for a shadow box privacy fence on the plan, just to point that out so it doesn't call out a white vinyl fence. So if you want to do that, you want to change it on the plan. Sure. And that's great about hearing about the drums on the property, that they would go away. One thing is, Mr. Weiss, what is your official title now, Mr. Weiss?
My official title is I'm the Assistant City Administrator and Director of Planning and Development Services.
Fabulous. So I can just call you Director of Planning?
Yes.
Okay, brilliant. All right, so as he pointed out in his report, there wasn't trash called out on the site. And one of the things that I would also be interested in, if you're going to have it on site and have a trash enclosure, you know, the dumpster enclosure like we're used to following the city code and all that, that's pretty self-explanatory. One other thing that came to my mind as you're talking about the two businesses and how they're going to tie together in the flow with the daily business and work product was, what about the trash? Like, are you going to be taking the trash from the one building to the other building? And that would be a little bit of a concern too. So if you start loading trash, for example, onto the trailer with the tractor to take it over with the equipment to dump it in the other dumpster, you know, that would be something that I would have a little bit of a concern with, just kind of as a heads up. So as you're thinking about how you're going to address that, I'll be very interested in it, kind of, but giving you some flavor as to why, kind of what my thought process is. Then, yeah, the siltation fence, I'm familiar with that. When you brought that up, I thought that, you know, maybe it was intended to still be there and you were anticipating, but I thought surely not. Okay.
Somebody's coming south.
The current contractor, well, the contractor display area, Mr. King had mentioned at the beginning of his introduction how you have that on your existing site and how it's not currently allowed under code with your current property. I guess understanding that right now it is a technical code violation, and apparently the city has been very gracious in working with you on that. You know, now we're going to have another property where you're saying that you're going to put it outside, but you're going to bring it in at night. And I guess since it hasn't been, since the current ordinance has not been complied with on your existing property, I'm concerned that if we put any provisions like that and put a conditional use permit on your new property, that it won't be abided by either, I guess is what I'm saying.
Well,
so I'd like to have more discussion about this topic. I don't like the idea in general of the display areas, but you know what I'm saying?
Sure. Yeah, we can only use the front for display if it's permitted in the conditional use permit. It's not permitted in the general ordinance, GC ordinance.
Right.
So that's why we are here for the conditional use permit.
Right, I understand that. The applicant is talking about that part of the reason why, hey, you know, Brentwood, it's not really going to be so bad that we're going to put this equipment out there on display in front of our new building if you give us this conditional use permit, because we're going to bring it in.
Yeah.
Well, what if he doesn't bring, you know, when I mean, he's not been abiding by that regulation at the other one that doesn't even allow for outdoor display. So my confidence level in the ability to comply with the conditional use permit is not very high.
He takes it off there every night, so
okay.
You could look and see, but every night he does bring it in. So
okay.
I think you could be confident that it would come in every night. The other thing would be, it could be stolen too.
Mm-hmm.
May I address that also?
Sure.
I'm not in compliant with the product being out in the front of the store because we literally don't have room. I'd love to take you there right now so I could show you. In the evenings when we close, we literally have to bring equipment inside the parts room, inside the showroom, inside the service area, just so we can close the door. And like Mr. King is stating, we are in compliant with not leaving anything out, ever. because he is correct. It will be stolen. So nothing will ever be left outside. It's not going to be like a Home Depot or anything like that where it is left outside. So the conditional use permit will be abided by truly in a sense of being brought in. It's just right now, it's not that we want to be in any violations. It's a matter of we physically cannot operate business if we don't put product outside. And that's our big detriment. That's our problem. And that's why we've invested the monies we have into these other buildings. And that's why we're still trying to conduct business in our same area. As far as when I come in front of the board 5-6 years ago to get the warehouse done, we were approved that addition, but we have outgrown it. So it's really turned into, we literally move out of Brentwood, or we try to accommodate our needs of our issues that we have at hand. And the only feasible thing I could do was to acquire this property so we would be able to still conduct business on Manchester Road and still be a business owner in Brentwood. Without this, I just be quite frank with you, I truly cannot conduct business anymore where we're at. So my option is, if we do not have this opportunity to comply with Brentwood to be able to get to this new building, to be able to have the room for expansion, it physically has taken me out of business in Brentwood. As we all know, our footprint is to the inch as far as how big we could go. I can't go any higher. We're already 2 stories back there. I can't go any higher. It's physically impossible. And we physically have outgrown the location. So that's why the product is brought out in the morning before we open, right at 8 a.m., and then it is brought back inside the store at 5:30 or 5, say, at closing time. You could go right now, and if you're in Brentwood, you know, there's never any product ever outside, ever, after business hours. The only reason why it's taken outside is so we can work, so we have room. You literally cannot even walk in that building right now as we're talking.
So you said that the only reason it's brought outside is so that you can work and so you have room. So if you have room with another building, why do you need to have it outside?
So we can display it, so we can even have more tax revenue brought in for Brentwood.
Okay,
That's the only feasible way we can be seen, and that's our whole problem. We are not, our curb appeal isn't very attractive. So we do have product brought out in the front so people can see us. As far as having that product out there, we're talking really quality product. We're not talking, wheels missing, things like that. It's showable, new condition product is what we're putting out there. It is a problem if we did. Just imagine Home Depot not having anything out in their front parking lot. Imagine how they would be able to conduct business, and that's a national account. It's not like myself. That's just a small Brentwood person trying to conduct business. Having the product out in the front, like Mr. King has stated, it's a very minimal spot that we're putting the product out, but it is visible. So it would be a hindrance to our business and growth prospects if we cannot have product out in the front of the building. Right now, it's a matter of, at our 8605 location, we couldn't conduct business if we didn't have it because there's no way of putting the product. So that's really the detriment. And of course, we do put the product out there so people, see us. So that's why it's such a necessity, let's call it, for us to have, product out there under business hours only.
I appreciate the additional information. It's obviously a wonderful problem that you have as a growing business. So I congratulate you for that. I would mention that Home Depot is set way off of the thoroughfare, so the impact when you drive by is much different than when you have it right up along the street. I'll be interested in getting a little bit more information about that and discussing it a little bit more at site plan.
Sure.
but I appreciate the added information. You had also mentioned that you mentioned a tractor and a trailer. I want to make sure that I was understanding what you were saying correctly. You said an 8x12 trailer on a single axle, and then does that hook to a tractor?
Yes, ma'am. It is just one of our pickup and delivery trailers. And as when I say tractor, that we're not talking semi. We're talking a little, a yard tractor, like you would use to cut your grass with. That's just something in a sense of it's not a big, like my truck, my 1-ton truck pulling back and forth. It wouldn't be anything of that size. Yeah, it's not any farm tractors or any.
I was just at our farm, so I wanted to get a much better. I'm familiar with tractors of all shapes and sizes, so yeah.
Just think of it in a sense of one other product that we have is a fork truck that we do leave inside the building.
Fork truck?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So, with a fork, just something to be able to pull a very small, trailer is all it is. So as far as something of size, I mean, we're talking something about, 2 times the size of this podium is what I'm talking about as far as the size of a tractor that would be, pulling this trailer. And it's just a matter of being able to take product from one building to the other building is all it is. It's not like a semi in any way, shape, or form.
So you indicated that you're going to have it there and you're going to load it up, and when it's full, you're going to take it to the other site?
As long as the board doesn't see a problem with that. I mean, my question would be, what would be okay to use?
Well, first let me understand what it is, what you have in your mind.
Well, visualize an 8x12 trailer.
Right.
Okay, just
I got
8x12.
that, and the
okay.
small tractor.
And then we're talking a small tractor. So when that 8x12 trailer has, enough product on it to move over to the other store. Because what we're trying to do is not have, that's used equipment that we're talking about, that's service equipment. We wouldn't want to have a whole bunch of service equipment just sitting on the side of the building, so when we do have enough product to have the trailer filled, we would just want to move it out of sight. That's the whole intention, to get it to where it's going to be worked on. That's what we're trying to do.
So 2 more questions about that is how many trips do you think that you would make per day? And then the second question is, where do you store the tractor and trailer when you're not using it? Where does it sit?
Well, for one, the trailer is in the parking lot because it's a approved, licensed trailer that we use to come to your house to pick up your lawnmower, okay? So it's in our parking lot, as we're speaking. And as say, for instance, the tractor or the fork truck, I mean, that's a product that we use every day, as far as like the fork truck to unload a truck. So it's on our property as we're speaking. So it would be, the trailer would be like there out of sight, but it would be on the parking area is where where it would be. But as far as here again, I'm if that's not doable, then please give me a suggestion on how I would do that. Here again, keep in mind, guys, I'm trying to enhance things. I'm trying to better things. I'm not trying to make something more of an eyesore. I'm trying to make things accommodate Brentwood better. Right now, it is a problem for people to get up Ruth Avenue when these guys have trucks and trailers in their way. So this is the only feasible way I could come up with to help minimize this problem. So the trailer is there right now. So the trailer is approved, the trailer is licensed, insured, and it's on our parking lot as we're speaking right now. So it's not like a new piece of merchandise or something like that. It's still things that we have in existence as we're speaking right now that we use.
So would the tractor and the trailer, which are 2 separate things, they hook up together? Mm-hmm. Okay. Where would they be on this plan? Where would they be stored? And would they take up 2 parking spaces? I'm interested in the parking calculations and how much space they're going to take as well.
No, truly, as far as it won't even be on this proposed property where it is right now. It's not on the proposed property right now.
Okay, so if it's not going to be on this property, how are you going to be loading stuff up onto it to take back to the other property if you're not keeping it over here?
Well, I mean, when
Doesn't-
we have enough product, you know, that's filled, then we would bring it over and fill it, you know what I mean, at that given time. Now, how many times are we going to make that drive? How many pieces of product, I mean, you know, in the springtime, we'd probably be loading it probably a couple, 3 times in that day. And if you come into the wintertime, we probably wouldn't use it maybe once every other day. You know, it just depends on how much product is being dropped off.
So as the product's getting dropped off at the new location, and the tractor trailer is not there, where are you going to put that stuff? That if it's enough to go on an 8x12 trailer, where are you going to have that on the new site, the equipment that's being dropped off for the tractor trailer to come pick it up?
Be in the building.
So all of the equipment that's going to get dropped off at this new site is going to be stored inside the building and then brought out only when the tractor trailer comes to pick it up. Is that correct?
What would be, I mean, let me ask you a question. What would be, what would the board like me to do?
Well, and we can talk about that, but
Yeah,
I want to
that's
find
where
out
I'm-
what your
Our
what your
main goal
thought
is to be in
first.
compliant with Brentwood's codes. That's our main
Right.
goal. Our main goal is to make this problem that we're having going away. I understand what you're trying to ask. The question is, what would the board approve, and what do they feel is the best for that?
You can't leave equipment outside, somebody will take it.
Right, exactly. There
During
were-
the day, though, when he's accumulating
during the
product
day.
during the day that's getting dropped off while the tractor trailer's at the old site and the equipment's getting dropped off for repair at the new site, where's it going to sit? And I'm concerned about it sitting out on the lot to be visible to the public.
Okay.
I'm concerned about it taking up parking spaces,
No.
you know, a lot of those kind of things. So I want to have a much better idea of how you're going to operate that. If it was all inside, I don't really care what you do inside your building. That's just wonderful. If it's outside, then we really need to have a better understanding of it. So we
Sure.
just need to know what you're thinking about. So when you come to the next meeting, if you let us know and we can see what we can figure out.
Sure.
But I need to understand what it is that you have in your mind first.
Okay.
And then I'm sure that we're happy to give you all sorts of wonderful suggestions. And we appreciate your interest in hearing them.
Right. Well, that's my whole thing. I have to say it again. Whatever the board is wanting to approve, that's what I need to hear from you. So, okay, so Ms. Bilderbeck, if you're stating that, you know, there's not, I can't have, if somebody's lawnmower come in, it cannot be put on the sidewalk, not on parking area, but on the sidewalk on the side of the building, then, you know, please let the board address that issue and let me know that. Like Mr. King is trying to state, we can take it inside the building, but you know how it is, you just drop off your lawnmower, it might be, you know, right there on the side of the building for that 1 minute. If that's what the board would like me to do, is make sure every lawnmower gets dropped off, gets put inside the building, and I just need to know that. But nothing, like Mr. King has stated, nothing is ever left outside, ever, without being open. We never have any product ever outside.
Yeah, and I'm concerned about during the day too, not just in the evening. The other one was getting at the fact of the lack of code compliance in your original site,
Right.
and how we would rely on your code compliance, you know, if you were to be granted this more unusual thing of a CUP, which is not a given in the code.
Well, we don't want to be unusual. We would like to be in compliant with code.
Right.
So that's our main objective and our main goal here. So, you know, my way of looking at this is an enhancement. I'm not wanting to try to make anything, you know, look bad. So if we have the opportunity to conduct business out of that building, we would not be leaving anything, you know, outside that building. Now, when somebody comes and drops off a lawnmower, you know, if the board is going to state that it has to be taken inside immediately that minute or I'm going to be in a violation, then please let me know. But I do have to reiterate a little bit. I'm in compliant with the board right now, today as I'm speaking, as far as not having anything outside, okay? It's just a matter of operating, the times of operation that I am hindered to comply with not having product outside. So if you go by the store right now, I am in compliance with the board.
In the evening, but you're not
Yes,
during the day.
That's correct, yes, ma'am,
Right.
because I can't. That's been the problem. I
Yeah,
don't.
and we've been through that. I mean, we don't,
Sure.
this isn't a grilling session, but I just felt that it was important to bring that up and make that point as we, continue and start our dialogue
Yeah.
on these issues.
Point well taken. And that's what we're trying to do, is take that point well taken and really resolve the problem. So that's truly, that's our ultimate goal.
Great. Well, I really appreciate your patience in answering my questions as well, and I'll look
appreciate it.
forward to seeing you at subcommittee. Thank you, Mr.
Yeah,
Chairman.
good questions, Ms. Bilderback, and frankly, it is an unusual petition, given that the two parcels are separated in the way that they are, and that's why we are going to have a site plan subcommittee, so let's keep that in mind, that we're going to be able to flesh out these questions in a lot more detail at site plan. But Mr. Plufka.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I promise to be very brief. I have one observation and one concern. The concern first. The north end of the property that communicates with the east side of Ruth Avenue, that is not the property part of this application, but it's the property in between the two properties. Is there a privacy fence along that north end of the property? That
They've not
goes all
right
the way
now,
to-
there's not, sir, but there's going to be. And that's abutting the resident that I had spoke to,
Right.
and that's what we're wanting to do.
And so my only concern is, and I thought I heard you say that, so my only concern is that as you do that, and as you propose to use the north end of that middle parcel to drive from the one parcel to the east to the existing parcel you've got to the west, only thing I'm concerned about is a tractor pulling out and a northbound car coming down Ruth Avenue towards Manchester Road, not seeing you in time and having some sort of safety issue with regard to you just pulling out and them not seeing you in time, if there is in fact a privacy fence that runs right to the street. And that's only a concern, and I'm sure there's ways for you to deal with that. I just want to bring that to your attention. That's my only
Good point
traffic
taken,
concern
but
with what you propose.
But I don't think the city would allow us to have a site problem on Manchester.
So what you're saying is the city's likely to require you to put a setback on that fence
Yes,
anyway?
they would. Like, you couldn't put a bush up there either.
Okay.
A tall bush.
My other observation, or my other comment is more of a recommendation. It may not even be that strong, but you mentioned curb appeal in one of your answers a few minutes ago. Because you're displaying, or you want to display, landscaping equipment and commercial landscaping equipment at that, what about drawing a line from the southeast corner of the proposed building straight south to Manchester Road and pulling up that asphalt and planting grass, and actually having grass be what the equipment is displayed on? That's just
We can look
something
at
to
that.
think about between now and the site plan.
In respect to that,
You're not using it for parking otherwise.
right, that's the thing. You see, what we had thought was having the green space, as we call it, being set like we've done, at the 8605, where you have brickwork, a decorative block going around
Yeah, it's a
it,
pretty small planter, though.
and then that way no one can pull in there, and it would still be a matter of it would make it, bless you, it would make it kind of, I don't want to call it a cubby hole, but it wouldn't, no one would be able to park right there. If we get grass, no pun intended, guys, but you know how it is with grass, and then with it raining, and then you got equipment on there, and then it gets.
Yeah, but it's equipment that cuts grass, right?
Yeah, it is, but we still trying to keep it looking good, though. That's the only thing.
You got the equipment to do it. That was my only observation. I appreciate you taking the time.
No,
tonight.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks.
Let's see if there's anybody else. Okay, Ms. Bilderbeck.
Just real quick, going along those lines, and Mr. King, I think you may know about what I'm talking about, because when I worked in the development community, we did these things. There are certain kinds of pavers that you can put under grass that allow for water flow, that allow grass to grow, but yet are strong enough to hold a fire truck. So that might be worth considering for those areas. I kind of had the same thought process. That way you could safely park any equipment on there in the mud because it would be strong enough. You know what I'm saying? You'd still be able to have the grass that would grow up in between. But if you could do some looking into alternative solutions like that, that would be great.
Okay, now in retrospect to that, you're saying where we would be storing, or not storing, I shouldn't use that term, where we're going to be displaying
Correct.
the new product?
Correct. Like Mr. Plufka was talking about, and I know Mr. King knows what I'm talking about, because I've known developers that have used that as a solution, and it can hold fire equipment. So I'm confident that it would be sufficient to, during the day, hold display lawn equipment. Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions, Mr. Glasky?
Yeah, Mr. Russo, you said early on that, or maybe Mr. King did, that you were under budget constraints and paving the access from the to Ruth wasn't really an option.
Well, in a sense of an option, as we all know, it was an investment on the properties. I've been making, the mortgage payments for, quite a while now. We're trying to get into the business, so there's not been any income coming off of that properties. So it has been an issue financially in that sense. As far as the main goal, it would be ultimately to get it all asphalted. It's just a matter, it's all about monies. That's what we're really getting down to. As far as the properties, as far as getting it all asphalted, it's just not something that's in budget at this time. But if this is going to be something to where it's it has to be done, then I just have to address whatever the board is stating I have to address. But that would be the ultimate goal, though.
Well, I would ask Mr. Wise then, if the access to Ruth is not paved, if it could still be used as an access. I guess the answer is no.
Correct. The answer is no.
So, and Mr. King stated early on that you'd be willing to close off the access. If that were to occur, how would you get the product from the property to your existing location?
If you close it off, you'd have to have a gate, be closed with a gate, so they could get the repair work through the gate.
So could you please speak into the mic?
Oh, what we would do is there'd be, fencing or a gate there that you would have to go through that would not allow anybody else to go through,
But even with the gate, if you're not planning on paving it, you would have to find some other access to the existing location. My question is, how would that occur?
Well, the only way it could occur would be to go out on Manchester Road.
Okay. And then the access to Ruth actually goes through an unpaved parking lot. Do you know if that's up to code currently?
I don't know.
Mr. Wise?
It's not as a parking lot.
Okay,
It does not.
I suspected as much, having lived on Ruth for 14 years and suffered with that location. If you were to pave the access to Ruth, would the plan also include improving that unpaved lot on Ruth?
If you were going to drive on it, what I understand Justin to say is it would have to be paved.
The lot? I'm asking about the lot.
Not the lot.
The lot is not in compliance currently.
I don't think you'd have to pay the whole lot to get just a drive, a drive-through for it.
I know, but my question is, as part of this, do you have any plans to improve that lot?
Not at this time, no.
All right, and then the new location you said was for sales of commercial equipment? So my question is, how is that going to alleviate the storage problems that you have currently at the existing location? This sounds like an expansion of your business and not a relief for the problems that you currently have.
It's twofold. It actually will alleviate the problem that we're having. If you go to the store, like you say, Mr. Glasky, you drove past us. If you ever noticed, what we do pull out on the southeastern portion of the property is the commercial equipment. It's the big product that we have the problem with as far as the size of that product. So we are pulling that product, the commercial equipment as stated, onto the corner of our property, our existing
So
property
your
right
existing
now.
business includes the commercial equipment, and that would just move to the new location?
Correct, yes,
Okay.
sir. Yeah.
All right.
Now, I have to reiterate, guys, if we're getting into an issue to where, and Mr. Weiss can let me know too, but if this is getting into an issue to where it's let's just face it, it's mandatory that I have to get it asphalt, I have to be in compliant. So if that is what is best, then, I have to address that. So the ultimate goal, be quite frank, is to get it asphalted. It's just a matter of, it's just about affordability is what it all boils down to be. Of course, the big contingency here is to be compliant and to be able to start conducting business. If that's what the board feels that we have to do to make this work, then, that's what I just need to get accomplished.
Well, I think it's essential that there be access behind the building to Ruth.
Yes, sir.
Otherwise, you're going to be driving your little tractor out on the
Yes, sir. And
Manchester.
that'd be a detriment.
And that's going to have, and I think that's a good thing, because the problem with your current location, as you know, people who are dropping off their equipment or picking it up drive north on Ruth up to Florence and do a U-turn at the T intersection and drive back down. So anything you could do either with the turnaround or the access to Ruth, I think would be a huge improvement. So I would like to see at site plan committee, the plans include a more definitive plan for traffic flow on the site. Thank you.
Any further questions? Any members of the audience like to address the commission on this application? Okay, Mr. Russo, you've heard the questions, you've heard some of the concerns here. If you could make sure that you do your best to address those concerns at site plan, especially landscaping is a concern as well. I think that was picked up on the grass, and we do have street tree requirements here, so we'd like to see some cooperation along those lines, and I think we've got a lot to talk about with this road. Let us know what you want to do on this dumpster. I think that's the same concern Ms. Bilderbeck raised, a concern about trash circulation. And then give us a better idea of your site coverage on your application.
Okay.
And anything further you'd like to add?
Just as far as on the trash, the existing trash is in the parking area, let's call it, behind the cigarette shop. So we were going to have just that same trash dumpster sitting there, and I did want to get it enclosed. As far as trash, though, at the 8513 property, it'd be so minimal because it's just, papers and all. We're not like getting the big boxes like of the Pushmore. I mean, that's our big trash issue is at 8605, and the trash dumpster is in the back parking area behind the cigarette shop. So we wouldn't want to bring in another dumpster, because there again, that would definitely be a hindrance, and it's so minimal on the additional so-called trash. It'd be very, very minimal, at the new location, that is. We're not getting into boxes, so to speak, like we are at 8605. So the trash, we will make sure that it's shown on the plan better. But as far as an additional dumpster, no, we don't. We're not actually going to have another dumpster site, for that 8513.
Okay, well then we will see you. We actually had a typo on the agenda. The site plan review meeting is for July 30th.
Okay.
And anybody have an objection to it beginning at 6 p.m.?
That's great.
Okay, we'll see you July 30th at 6 p.m. then.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for the
Thank
petition.
you.
Okay, any members of the Board of Aldermen here? No. City planner, any report?
One update. At the last meeting, the commission made a recommendation to basically move forward with going out and getting the services of a consultant to start reviewing the comprehensive plan. That request will be presented to the Ways and Means Committee tomorrow evening. Their meeting got shifted a little bit. I was hoping to have an update for you this evening, but it will be tomorrow night. And I will pass that information along with what comes out of that meeting after tomorrow night.
Thank you, Mr. Wise. Volunteers for subcommittee?
Out of town.
All right, thank you. Rationale? I don't think we have anything to present to the board. Any other business?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Gillespie?
Well, there was something at our stations today about geese. Do we need to, is there anything we need to do with that?
Is that
Is
intended for
our
the commission?
information?
I think I missed it.
I think that was for.
Yeah, that wasn't here.
Oh,
Just you.
yeah, that's not for the commission.
Any other business?
That's left over from a previous meeting.
Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, stand adjourned.